Wow.
Yeah, because when it comes to, I remember right after the Oscars, Shapiro went on a rant that Hollywood is elite because they gave some artsy films Oscars, and I'm going, so we should give Oscars judged on ticket sales. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what he was saying, because he's going, oh well, this movie that made all this money didn't win an Oscar. I'm going, so we should give it based on. It's about the art,
We,
you
we,
know.
we shouldn't even do like Oscars at all. We should just be mailing Oscars to the Fast and Furious people as
Yes.
the best movies, you know.
Well, that would.
We did touch on something very interesting, and I want to just mention that about who's more irritating, Jordan Peterson or Justin Bieber, and that was a tough call. I
Yeah.
do not know myself.
Yeah. Well, embarrassment to Canada. They both have done a really good job at embarrassing the hell out of this country. So, you know.
I have biases.
You have biases. Are you in the Peterson camp?
Fuck no.
No.
I have no attraction to Jordan Peterson whatsoever, if you get my drift.
Right.
That's where the bias comes in.
Okay, I understand.
I could have some use for Justin Bieber. There's some use. But Jordan Peterson.
Well, on the
make me say it, Andy, for God's sake.
Okay, I won't make you say
on the upside, Justin Bieber's roast on Comedy Central was one of the best things I've watched. Like those Comedy Central roasts are pretty damn good, because you just I love seeing people insulted, and people, especially when some of them were like, especially when it's either Anthony Jeselnik or I forget what's the woman that's
Anthony Jeselnik is savage. He's great on roasts. He is fantastic. And we didn't even talk about Donald Rumsfeld dying either. There was just so much news today, everyone.
I think him dying is right. I have as much sympathy for him dying as I did when Rush Limbaugh kicked the bucket. So, you know.
And the thing is, they had W giving his, speaking at his funeral, and it's like, great. That tells you exactly what you need to know about the man. Arguably the worst president of the United States, except for Donald Trump, right? I just want to say that. And obviously a war criminal. W.
Well, I don't know if he was competent enough to be a war criminal. I think Cheney ran the country anyway. So
complicity still counts, man. Complicity still counts.
Yeah, true.
If you're signing off the orders, I see what you're doing there, John.
Like my new headband.
So, is there any reason for you to have the devil horns, or just because you like having the devil horns?
My daughter said, if the hat fits, wear it.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Love this sweater, Sammy.
Yeah. I'm just something related to because there's this Facebook page called Theists Say the Weirdest Things or something, and you always hear these things that like Facebook is trying to cancel this, so spread this word that God is great and something, and then I always just have to go in there on the comments and just say Hail Satan and just do it and then leave it. Hail Satan, he has the best music, and then leave it, and it just because it's I know that the chances are that the people are not even going to look at it, but it just makes me feel better when I can do that, especially when people try to say that religion is, so picked on,
Well, it doesn't get the abuse that it does merit. I'll say that.
Yeah.
If there's an undervalued market there, it is the abuse of religion. People need to abuse religion a lot more than they do. Your true self, John. That's it, with your devil. Yeah, so Don Rumsfeld. The man who orchestrated the eternal wars, the Iraq war and Afghanistan. Yeah.
Well, that was a war that was supposed to be over in 6 months, right?
Well, once again, in terms of being the second worst president of all time, George W. Bush, just the way that they occupied Iraq. I remember the first time they told me they said about how many soldiers are going into Iraq. It's like, so 183,000, and that's between us and the Brits. That seems like a thin number. how are you going to occupy a country that big with only 183,000 people, 185,000 maybe?
But we're all talking bullshit because 6 weeks after the Iraq invasion, it was mission accomplished, right?
Oh, right. And just to give, and I know I say this number all the time, right, when this topic comes up, but we occupied Japan after World War II with 250,000 people, right? And that country was pretty much not Iraq, that's for sure. And it just boggles the brain. It just boggles the brain about how incompetent they were. Yeah.
Well, it's like I always said you had the choice right there between in 2000, was it 2000 when he defeated Gore, right? 2000, right?
2000, yeah, when Gore actually won and lost at the same time.
Well, the thing is this. I always said you had a choice between an idiot and a boring person, and I would have taken the boring person.
Oh yeah, always the boring person. Always.
I really had some problems with Gore with Tipper when the labeling music, just
they're not perfect by a long shot, but especially considering I listen to music that routinely gets considered offensive in many ways, and that's my main source of listening. My favorite kind of music is heavy metal, and most of that stuff is like considered, it's
got a warning label on it. It's got a warning label. It makes me want to pick up that music just because, hell, it might say the fuck word or something.
Well, that's the thing is that's the thing is that everyone said, I think it was either Nikki Sixx or Tommy Lee goes, well, if I see something that has a parent's warning label on, I'm buying that album.
I believe that was Dee Snider.
Yeah.
He and Frank Zappa really had their way with Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, made them look like the idiots that they are.
Yeah. And I think the funniest thing is when GNR released the Use Your Illusion albums, on the front of the cover, they had a sticker. They go, these albums contain offensive music. If you don't like it, you can fuck off and buy new wave music. And I go, that's it. So that was my So listen, like I said, I have issues with censorship until it goes, because in Canada we don't have freedom of speech. We have a Charter of Rights, and as opposed to a freedom of speech, which is in the United States pretty much unlimited, we actually have hate speech laws. So if you do engage in hate speech, you can actually be charged, as opposed to the United States, where you can pretty much say whatever the hell you want, and they can do nothing, so.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can say a lot here in the States. You don't have to worry that much about the government. But of course, if you got a job and if your employer finds out, or if you're a high school student, we just saw that court case that the high school student won. But there's definitely, we do have a lot more freedom in comparison to other countries, but there are some restrictions, especially when employers are looking at applicants and checking out looking at social media pages and seeing what people are doing on like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. People should
reason number 2 will never work again.
Well, there's
would hire me.
There was that famous thing where that executive was flying to Africa. She goes, I'm going to Africa. I might get AIDS. She goes, oh, not going to happen. I'm going to hang out with white people. And she found it went viral, and she was fired before she even landed in Africa.
Wow. Yeah. Man. People. It is once again. It is remarkable how stupid people are.
Yeah.
Period. And then when they're engaged with technology, in terms of having the camera, having a phone. Or even the shit that they write on company emails. It's like, don't you know that whenever you engage with a company, when you're typing things out at work, then your boss can read all the emails that you send out?
Yeah. Well, there was this. What people don't realize is that they always say freedom of speech and stuff. They don't realize that applies to the government. Private organizations have the right to do whatever they want, pretty much.
Well, especially if you have like these so-called morality contracts or within, for work, right? It's like you can only do certain things, you can say certain things.
And that's what happened with that lady on Mandalorian. She said some really stupid, idiotic stuff, and she was in private company. And there was there was this case in Canada where a very famous guy that had been on Hockey Night in Canada was fired because he said during when the poppies which we carry around that we wear on Remembrance Day, he goes, those people, and he was and of course his fans said he wasn't meaning immigrants, but his exact words were, those people who love our something in honey, they come to our country, yet they don't want to do this. And then you see, because people are revisionist when they got a skin in the game, and and he has a lot of fans because he's proudly Canadian, and he's but he's made so many offensive, cringeworthy comments in the past about gay people, about women in sports, about people from European hockey players, about people from Quebec. Like, if you're white and from Ontario, he loves you, but God forbid you dare, like, you're not exactly of that thing. And he got in trouble, but of course people defended him because but and the worst part is that's pissed me off about the whole situation was the honesty. It's like, be honest. If you still support him, fine, that's your opinion, but at least be honest about what he said. He didn't say people that weren't wearing poppies. He said people from immigrants.
That is savage.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah.
And that was good on the lighter side of life,
Yeah. And like I said, it was it was just the dishonesty that they couldn't even face up to what he really said.
Well, there's a lot of people like that, and unfortunately, right? It's like, it wasn't that bad. Or there's this cognitive dissonance that goes on. Most people can't say something, and then when they can say something horrible, like Trump supporters, for example, when they do say something horrible, you're like, wow, maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe there's something wrong.
Oh, it's like I'm all for equality when he's wearing Trump that bitch and grab her by the pussy t-shirt, like he actually wearing it. He goes, so you're about equal rights? I go, yes. So what does your t-shirt? Jordan Klepper at the Trump rallies was brilliant. Like, when he went, I don't know when he did it just for the Daily Show and his own show, him at Trump rallies was brilliant because he'd actually mock them with straight to their face and go, you do realize the irony of what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Although these are the same people that will say that, fuck your feelings, while at the same time crying and wanting to cancel people that speak out against Trump.
Well, speaking of the Trump thing, I've got a friend that's coming into town today. He's one of my oldest friends, and he's a Trump thumper, and my fucking anxiety is out the ceiling, And, and this is the guy that fucking wanted to burn down Mormon churches when we was teenagers. I talked him out of it. Now, guess what church he's a member of in good standing? It's fucking lunacy. And my anxiety is out the fucking ceiling. I talked to him on the phone. Every time I'm done, I'm like, love you, brother, and back at
it. God, is he a Mormon now?
He's a Mormon.
Oh, dude, I would love to talk to a Mormon, just like face to face, just me and them. It's like so. Talk to me about the Celestial Mother. Does she have a name? I know she's popping out astral babies and stuff.
We worked for United Concerts when I was younger, and his mom was J.C. McNeil's secretary, who was United Concerts. So we got to meet Kiss. We sat down with Grace Slick from Starship.
Oh yeah.
Played frisbee with Howard Jones. Played baseball against Rush. We rented a ball field.
How the hell do I know you and you haven't talked about Rush and playing baseball?
Rush? I got pictures of it. I thought they were good pictures.
Wow.
And back in the day, man, you got to. I'm not going to badmouth Getty, but keep him away from your fucking cocaine.
That little guy should not be taking cocaine.
Yeah. Well, it's like his voice is high enough. Like he really needs more excitement.
So, all right. So, John, you have to answer this question. So, because I think if you're going to talk to Grace Slick back in the day, there is I would have a totally different attitude regarding Grace Slick before we built this city on rock and roll, and after.
It was about that time.
It was about
right around that time. And I was concierge. So, yeah, I got the bands what they wanted. Anyhow, I was coming out of the dressing room, and I'm like, anything else, Miss Slick? I've lived a fucking life, guys. I'm like, anything else, Miss Slick? And she's like, could you sit down and talk to me? And
sure.
I'm like,
that's great.
Okay. She goes, fuck, I've been doing this for over 20 years and I still get butterflies.
Mm.
And I'm like, I thought that was just beautiful. I don't remember anything else from the conversation but that. And I'm like, how fucking human.
I would have been like, have you tried drugs?
Yeah.
Well, why the fuck do you think I was in the dressing room?
Well, it's I'm not a fan of her, but I remember hearing when they interviewed Barbra Streisand that she barely could go on stage. Like she had such stage fright, even after like all the music she released and everything. She could barely go on. Like she had to, like, I guess I don't know what got her on stage, but that's why she barely ever performed. Apparently, was she had major like stage fright, which is weird considering like
probably
if
Valium.
yeah, true.
I had no part of Barbra Streisand's anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was a lot of fun though. Playing frisbee with Howard Jones. They came with the Eurythmics, and he was the backup show, or the second act or first act, warming up for Eurythmics. And I was up on stage. A frisbee comes up on stage. They're out there playing frisbee. I take and I throw it back, and they're like, come play with us. And the production manager's like, go, I took off my shoes. I can throw a frisbee with my toes. Well, I could.
Throw a frisbee with your toes.
I could throw a frisbee with my toes.
But I can throw a frisbee with my hand properly. So
I can throw a frisbee with my toes. I don't throw as far as I used to, but I can still throw a frisbee with my toes.
You know what? I would not be surprised if John suddenly said, like 2 minutes goes, when I was a 00 agent for the British.
Well, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Never had nothing to do with law enforcement, but run from the motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Well, you see, I'm British, so I can't. If I was in MI6, I couldn't tell you anyway.
Sure. Yeah, people always wonder, like, why do people run from the police? When you have the Sky video, when you're looking at, these police chase videos, it's like, well, for every time that the cop gets you, there's at least 20 other, instances that people make it get away from the cops. I mean, the reason why I've never been arrested is because I was always able to run faster. What do you got there?
Just like Michael Jackson said, smooth criminal, right?
What do you got, Sam?
It's just a minute long. I just want to know if anyone knows anything about this guy.
All right.
He started popping up in my feed. Fuck knows why.
I've seen him. I don't know anything about him.
The channel's called Entrepreneurs in Cars, but he sounds like he who shall not be named.
Mr. Peterson. Yeah. He's one of the knockoffs, right? He's one of the
high-value men specifically should avoid disagreeable women, single moms and feminists and stuff like that. Unhealthy women. I mean, something like 60% of the North American population is fat or obese or morbidly obese.
Yeah, you married a dime. She gets fat. she refuses to lose weight for you. So you're essentially paying a pig for the rest of your life.
These like perpetually woke women that talk about the patriarchy only earning, 74 cents in every dollar that a man earns. That whole victim mindset means that they have to have an oppressor.
Yeah.
And guess who that oppressor is going to be, fellas, if she's dating you? It's going to be the man, because that's what they've been told. So you want to stay away from victim mindset women. These women that are all hashtag boss girl, it ties into the disagreeableness, right? Like nobody wants to go and chase excellence all day long and have, fires to put out and people to deal with and bank to make. And then you come home to your girlfriend or your wife and she's the boss girl. There's got to be all these things that have to be done. And guys, don't waste your time on the boss girl hashtag girls.
Yeah, neither of them are ever getting laid again, or ever, like they ever have in the first place.
What is that dude's name? Do you know? Because he's popped up. Yeah, he's popped up. He's.
I don't know, but his daddy should have jacked off on a hot rock.
You gotta. You just gotta. I would be interested in seeing what his family life was like when he was growing up.
All I got to say is there's an old thing that we said is when we were young. It goes, and it's, you're the shot that missed your mom's mouth. And those guys are those guys are those two. And if I'm hoping that doesn't get you demonetized or taken off. But those guys, seriously, those incels are just like any woman's going to want to date that,
Yeah, he's saying half of what he's saying because this is what gets him clicks, right? This is what gets him views.
Yeah.
Is by saying these outrageous, misogynistic things.
Yeah,
and probably has a hell of an audience,
he has a bunch of middle school, kids, boys, who've never gotten laid, and he's gotten a bunch of other guys who never gotten laid, and that seems to be his fan base. What do you got? You got something else, Sammy?
Yeah. That's just if you wanted to know who he was.
Richard Cooper.
Cooper.
Yeah, that's just being a douchebag. Entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
Well, this is what I've said about Jordan Peterson, and I stand by this. Is the only thing Peterson does is take the wisdom from like Men's Health Journal, magazines, and just throws a couple of multi-syllabic words and some mythical references, and wraps it all up in conservatism.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
got him,
and it's broadcasted in Grandma's basement daily.
But
what's that
between Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, this guy, and even, dare I say it, amazing Jesse Lee Peterson, all have this same.
I think he froze up. You froze up on us. Happy Canada Dave. Dave. It must be the mice. It must be the Australian mice that got to him.
I think he's just voguing.
He's just voguing. Yes.
Yeah. The issue with people like this is that they inspired people to do dangerous stuff, like the Toronto the guy that ran over those people in Toronto with his van and killed like 12 people.
I'm going out. My little guy's coming up.
Yeah.
All right.
Later.
Care. Good seeing you, John.
Later, John. Have a good and basically, so that guy was an incel, and he was inspired by all these people. There was that kid 17-year-old kid that went on a shooting spree because he was it's this kind of toxic masculinity bullshit is dangerous. It's like, and and the worst part is that these people have an audience.
Oh yeah,
they have an audience.
The way to get an audience is not by doing reasoned or nuanced discussion, or talking about facts. What it is by doing crap like that, right?
Yeah.
Is just peddling misogyny and whatever works for the lower brainstem.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it's this. I wasn't the most popular kid in school, and who knows, like if I'd seen that, as a teenager, what I would have, I might have been indoctrinated into believing some of that stuff, and it's, but like, thank God I had a decently healthy, support system, family and stuff that, I wasn't, but it's dangerous.
It is. What's up, Sam? I'm glad that you're back here with us.
I think I just discovered some sort of like alchemy or some dark magic. You do not say those 4 names in a row.
Right.
I'm on my phone now. I don't know what the heck happened to my computer, but
you say those 4 names and boom, that's what happens.
Yeah, it's like, listen, you say those 4 names, maybe Candyman pops up behind you, Candyman.
Indeed.
Yeah, or YouTube kicks you. But what I was going to say was they all have that, I don't know where I dropped out, but they all run this narrative of victims because they want to be victims.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah.
You know, the important thing to what I've noted is their brand of masculinity is not adulting. You know, there is on the Venn diagram, there's adult behavior over here, right? Getting up, being responsible for the people around you, not being a dick, doing what needs to get done. And then over here is their brand of toxic masculinity, which is just, squeezing fools for money and being a jerk to people around them, right? Want to be alpha male kind of stuff.
Well, you see,
but those are not adults. You know, if you're a fan of Peterson, or I don't want to name all the 4 names and get myself kicked off. But if you follow into the doctrine of these idiots of toxic masculinity, you are not adulting. This is not how responsible adults behave in society.
Well, you see, playing the victim is good money. Like playing the victim has made Ben Shapiro famous. Like, playing the victim got Trump elected.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not just like the toxic masculinity. It's conservatism, which unfortunately conservatism has gone from maybe in the past having actual ideas, whether I disagree with them or not, to just virtue signaling and like what have they done over the past year or so besides like block anything? They've talked about Dr. Seuss, about Mr. Potato Head,
critical race theory.
Yeah, critical race theory, and now their favorite thing is, God forbid, a woman of color decides not to respect the national anthem. Because
that's the newest one. Yeah.
Because this is the thing that pisses me off. Okay, because, and it's happening in Canada as well, is that people mistake nationalism for patriotism.
Oh yeah.
And a friend of mine actually had said, I'm not going to celebrate Canada Day, and I don't think we should because of what's happened. You could agree or disagree with that, that's fine. But then some guy goes, this guy's exact words, I'll actually find, if I can find it, I'll screenshot it and send you. He's going, what if you don't if you don't like what we stand for, leave. That is not patriotism. That's nationalism. There you go. His exact words was, if you don't like, if you disagree with what I'm saying, you should be kicked out of the country.
Well, you understand. Yeah, that statement itself is, I think most legal scholars in Canada would agree with this. Is that's not very Canadian.
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, your country was founded on rebellion.
Yeah.
So to say you should always, under the First Amendment, you get to question authority. Under the First Amendment, now the conservatives love the First Amendment unless it's a liberal First Amendment issue. Yeah. And also it's no country is perfect. Yeah. And these people are trying to bring to light stuff that's going on is not perfect. And that scares white people because it scares them because, God forbid, that if things are equal, they might not have the cushy, it doesn't mean what they mistake for white privilege. Doesn't mean you're rich. It just means that you don't get stopped by police. Well, you don't have barriers to success.
Yeah. I have to tell you something. I got to go early today. This is a 10:30 show, ending hard out at 10:30, which is in like 20 seconds. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Sammy. Thanks, Glenn, International Man of Mystery, for showing up and doing the panel. Thank you, everyone in the chat and who are watching. I'll be back again tomorrow. We'll be back again tomorrow.
Yeah. See you guys tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.
See you later. Bye.
Later.